Get a job. Get a bloody job, lazy scroungers. That's an interesting sort of statement to make there, is what they do. They tell you to get a job. Well, actually I have a job. I'm one of those lucky people that does have a job. But an awful lot of people in this country don't at the moment. And if you are unemployed, then being unemployed has actually changed a lot in the last few years. Until sort of like the mid 1990s, you went on to the port, you had your various benefits. You just went into the office, they stamped a few cards, you filled out a few forms, and that was it. But that has changed enormously in the last few years. Nowadays, when you're unemployed, you have to go to one of these places, the Job Centre Plus. I don't know why they call it Plus. It should be minus, really, because it's totally different to how it used to be. I mean, I've been in a job centre, not for a long time because I've been in hospital porting for so long. But when I went in a job centre years and years ago, I can't remember how many years. It was just a room full of cards, cards put up on boards, and little desks where people used to talk to you, offices. Now there's security cards. You know, there's all kinds of things. CCTV, and the advisors are really, really nasty people. I mean, I've got some good advice from people I've been at job centres. I've actually seen a couple of them, and they're really nasty. That's some horrible stories coming out of job centres. There's much more rules now about what it takes to claim benefit. You get less money than you used to if you're out of work now. You even have things like food packages if you can't afford to buy food. I mean, this is like the refugee stuff, you know? Third world, that's what it's becoming. And you know, also the advisors, I mean, I think they're actually trained to browbeat you. I mean, a friend of mine went into a job centre to get a job, to get on the job seekers allowance, and was told, and she's like an artist, a poet, and she said she wants to do that, and the man he scowled at her, gave her the most contemptuous look, and he said, "You're wasting our time with stuff like that." Other times, you got to get a job. It's got to be a particular kind of job. It's got to be one of these slave labour jobs, you know. Oh, everyone's got to do them now. What I'm saying is, when you walk into a job centre nowadays, you're entering an open prison. There's also stories leaking out from job centres, you know, revealed anonymously by staff, about corruption. Now, there's a very good video which it's recently been put up from The Guardian. Apparently, one of the staff went to The Guardian and leaked information about that he's secretly trained to trick people, vulnerable people, into losing their benefits. They take you off job seekers allowance. It's called, they sanction it. Sanction. I mean, that's an Orwellian term, isn't it? They sanction your job seekers allowance because you haven't been looking for work hard enough. The problem is that the rules of job seekers allowance mean that if they want to prove you're not looking for work hard enough, it's almost unfalsifiable. Nothing you do is going to be good enough, so they can't sanction your job seekers allowance. It is an unfalsifiable position, and so there's this corruption. This sort of there's one rule they express publicly, and there's secret rules behind the scenes, and I suspect this is deliberate. You know, I suspect this is so the government is doing this. It's coming probably from the Department of Social Security, whatever it's called now, the Department of Plenty, the Department of Work and Pensions. Oh God, what? It's straight out of 1984, isn't it? You know, Winston Smith, the Department of Work and Pensions. It wouldn't so sick and disgusting. It would be funny. The big problem is the public attitude is not helping. And ever since the days of Margaret Thatcher, the media has stirred up a lot of stories which the public have bought, and it's complete propaganda that says things like, get a job, get a bloody job. You know, bloody scroungers living the life of Riley, being paid by the government to do nothing and put their feet up in front of the TV swigging special brew. Because all on our taxes, I'm paying for this, I'm paying for you to sit in front of the TV all day swigging special brew and eating takeaways. Well, that's a myth, and it's a myth that's spread deliberately so the public supports this kind of this sort of kind of workhouse mentality. And I'm serious. I mean, why not bring back workhouses? Why not bring back chain gangs? So basically, the people who say that have actually must surely have never been unemployed. Otherwise, they would never say that, because being unemployed is nothing like that, I'll tell you. Anyway, there's the government's revealed plans actually for what they call, I forgot what they call it. It's got another Orwellian name. I mean, it was first proposed in the days of Margaret Thatcher, and it was called Thatcher proposed it, but also the Reaganomics in America proposed the same thing, and they called it. Ronald Reagan called it workfare. Workfare. I mean, what it meant was that people would continue to be paid benefits, but they'd have to work at the same time. They have to do community service. If George Orwell was alive, he'd sue me for plagiarism. He really would, for all these Orwellian terms that keep coming up. What you do is you basically have to do so much. I think it's 100 hour, 20 hours a week or 40 hours a week to keep your job seeker's allowance. Now, you know, you're basically filling in drains, cleaning the streets, digging trenches. You know, you wear these special luminous jackets which say, it has this stupid name, which I can't even remember what the official title of this scheme is called. But I call it slave fare, because you know, I always thought if you're working and you're not getting paid for it, that's slavery, and slavery is supposed to be illegal nowadays. Well, slavery is not illegal, and it's never gone away. It's alive and well in this country. And it's an insult actually to say to people, well, you can't have a proper job, we can't afford to pay you to do a proper job, but you just pretend you're working for a bit by doing some work for nothing. You know, and this is it's a illusion. It's almost a kind of cop out, a salve for the national conscience to see these people out working. Well, they're just getting paid their benefits for it, and that is insulting. It's also insulting that people. It's a complete and utter nonsense that people need some kind of negative incentive. Otherwise, they just will not work. They need some kind of whip cracker behind them to make sure they work. Otherwise, everyone would be on the dole. That is also a very, very damaging, very insulting myth. Unemployment statistics show time and time again that unemployment does not rise when the benefit system becomes more generous. It does not fall when the benefit system becomes more austere and draconian. In fact, we have the most draconian benefit system since the beginning of the welfare state in the 1940s. In fact, I wonder if it can still be called that. When unemployment is going through the floor. Unemployment is related to the economic climate. There's no doubt about it. When during boom time, most people work. Very, very few people are out of work, no matter how generous the benefit system is. So let's cut the crap with this. Get a job, lazy bastard, lazy. They all say you're lazy, you know. It's stupid. Another problem with slave fare is what happened in America when the scheme was trialled out. What they did was they said, we'll put 100 long-term unemployed people in a particular American town on the slave fare scheme. And so they did. But what happened? They gave them a job in the city's works department. Hang on a minute. In the city's works department, basically sweeping the streets. What happened was that works department made 100 of its own staff redundant to create vacancies for the slave fare scheme. I mean, that is quite outrageous, isn't it? But what happened was there's people being made redundant, and some of the same people who got made redundant from their paid jobs in the works department were starting work the next day as part of slave fare, unemployed. So as you see, that's the problem, and no one ever thinks about that. If you're going to have unpaid labour and civic slaves in this country, then you need to create vacancies for these people so they actually have enough work to do, and that means making people unemployed to create vacancies for them. Duh! Isn't it crazy? It's absolutely absurd. It's like I said, this is really depressing. It's really upsetting, and it needs to be exposed. It needs to be stopped. Of course, the question is, they'll say, well, Ben, right? If you know so much about it, Ben, and you hate the present system, what would you replace it with? What about basic income? Have you heard of the basic income scheme? It's a very, very interesting system. What it means is that every adult every adult citizen in the entire country gets paid a basic income. The state pays them so much a week into their bank accounts, and it's not a king's ransom, but it's enough to keep you fed, it's enough to keep you clothed, it's enough to keep you off the streets and keep a roof over your head. And you think, well, and now you're going to say, well, Ben, isn't that what benefits is anyway? And I say, no. The reason is because you get paid your basic income whether or not you are working. Your basic income remains the same whether you've got a job, whether you're unemployed, whether you're disabled, whether you're elderly, a pensioner, whether you're a student. Doesn't matter. You get your basic income. Now, just think about that for a minute. Think about what that means. It means that there's no need for forms anymore. There's no need to have interviews. There's no need to be assessed. There's no need for sanctioning and reviews and things like that. You don't need to have to prove you're looking for work. You don't have to prove you're out of work. There's no problem with fraud anymore. All these acres and acres of city blocks full of suited wallers tracking down defrauders and defaulters and people who've had the wrong benefits paid to them. Don't need them anymore. Basic income is very simple. It's a flat rate that's paid to everyone, regardless of their status. Wouldn't it be wonderful? Of course it would be wonderful. And the problem is, because it would be so wonderful, the government would never, ever consider it. In fact, no government consider it, except for two. There's only one government that has a full basic income scheme. That's Namibia. It's a country in southern Africa. Alaska has a form of basic income based on the Alaskan oil reserves. All the people get a state payment from the oil revenue. But those are the only two places in the world that have any kind of basic income scheme, and that's the way it's going to stay until the Illuminati are gone and common sense starts breaking out, basically. See? There it is. There's the slave ship, the Job Centre Plus. You go in there, mate. You might as well put the handcuffs on and the shackles, because that's what you are. Thanks for watching Hapanwo TV. I'm now going to go somewhere else and show you what happens to the lucky, quote unquote, people who manage to get out of that place and find a job. See you in a minute.